Law-Abiding Biker Podcast. Oh yeah, that's right. Welcome back, fellow bikeaholics. This is the podcast for the big MM, the motorcycle majority. That's right, you know who that is. The 99%, baby. I ask you, what are you waiting for, bikeaholics? Mount up. Let's go for a ride, huh? That is right, everybody. Welcome back to the Law-Abiding Biker Podcast. I'm just saying you should be riding. And if you're not, you should be thinking about riding. And if you're not thinking about riding, well, then I'm here to help. And I'm here to help either way. This is Ryan Urlacher, your host of the Law-Abiding Biker Podcast and your high-tech redneck. I am excited to leave all the stresses behind to the regular job. I'm on the mic, which I love doing. And back in the studio here, one of my favorite places to be. So got some great interview scheduled for you guys on this episode. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I do have a few announcements and an email to go over and some useful information for you. I hope. I do have a special guest in the studio. We're recording this later in the evening, and it's a weekend. And my 9-year-old, my oldest daughter, Cian, wanted to be in the studio with me. So she's got earphones on, and she's mic'd up, ready to rock and roll. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll talk about something. Cian, what up?
Hi.
Well, hi. Is that all you have to say? You have anything to say to all the law-abiding bikers out there?
I love riding, and if you don't love it, you have a problem.
Oh, I like it. If you don't like riding, you have a problem. All right. Well, I'm telling you, everybody that listens to this podcast, they love riding. That's why we're the bikeaholic, Cian. All right, guys, real quick, me and Cian will talk in a little bit here. I want to ask her about a couple things, but I do want to mention that I have a new Harley-Davidson air suspension video out. It is free, guys. And if you remember, I did a video about 6 months ago, I suppose, and it's all about the manual, the more manual type adjustment on the rear suspension of my 2014 Street Glide Special. Now, some other Harley models have that, like LD's 2012 Street Glide CVO came with the same suspension that mine does, and that's a manual knob, and you adjust it. I did a full video that's been very popular, free, and a blog on exactly how to adjust that. It's just a knob back there that you turn, and you can adjust your suspension. Get that at lawabidingbiker.com/2014SGS suspension. All right. And that's been out. So I've been wanting to do a follow-up because on my 2011 Street Glide, I had the air suspension, which a lot of you out there listening have. And you can adjust the rear air suspension. I personally like my Street Glide Special suspension, the manual adjustment, not just because of the ease of adjustment, because it seems to ride a lot better. And I explain a little bit of that in that blog. But anyways, my 2011 did have the air suspension. A ton of Harleys out there for quite a few years had the air suspension. And in fact, Lurch's bike has the air suspension. That's whose bike we did the video on. Again, it's completely free and it's just the same. And if you go over to, I believe, I thought I put it on here, but anyways, I'll look it up here in a second. But I believe lawabidingbiker.com/Harley air suspension. And that will get you that video. Or you can just go to the website and do a search for air suspension. And while I'm talking to you guys, I'm going to multitask. I'm actually going to type in air suspension up in the top. Oops, I did air suspension. You think that's funny, Cian?
Yeah.
Why? Because Dad screwed up?
Yeah.
That's not funny. All right, so I'm typing that, guys, in. Sorry, apologize about that. Here it is. So video, adjust Harley-Davidson Street Glide Touring rear air suspension, and I want to get you guys the URL. It is lawabidingbiker.com/Harley air suspension. And again, that's free. And I put a little table up there with, depending on how much you weigh, where your air suspension, you can always refer back to that. Again, free blog and video from none other than Law Abiding Biker, guys. All right, I want to talk real quick about hey, Cian, you heard about my new app, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Good job. So anyways, I told you about it. I told you about the app I have, the Law Abiding Biker app. Have you seen it? Did I show it to you yet?
No.
All right, after the podcast, I'm going to show it to you. Anyways, guys, I do have the new app, and let me tell you, there's this podcast and several others. Most podcasts are going to get released early, and the only way you can get them early is if you get that app. And it's a law-abiding biker app. Let me explain real quick because I had some questions on it. Just go, if you forget what I'm telling you right here, just go to lawabidingbiker.com/podcast box. That's it. There's instruction there. There's links. It's really easy, guys. So right now, it's not a standalone app. And what I mean by that is Podcast Box is the free app that you want to go get. You can get it on Android, the Podcast Box app. It's free. You can go to iTunes and get the Podcast Box. Just search for Podcast Box. You get it free. Same with Windows phones. You can get it. And it's also on the Amazon market. You can get it there too. But the Podcast Box app is free. Once you get that free app, then within the Podcast Box app, just search for Law Abiding Biker. Android side, it's free, my app. And on the Apple side, it's just $2.99. And let me tell you, that's just to cover some costs. I'm not making... it's a 50-50 split. So for a $2.99 app, $3.50 or $3, I get $1.50 in return for each app sold. So I'm not doing it for the money. Actually, I did it, guys. I really want to get it out there, and eventually I might do just a standalone app where you don't even have to go through Podcast Box. But right now, you can get it through there. And what do you get with that? Well, the reason to get it, number one, it helps support us a little bit, but mostly it's ease. You get episodes early, before they're on iTunes, before they're on BlackBerry, Stitch, or anywhere else. Only place you can get them is the Podcast Box app. And you also I can send you specific content. You get the blog right there. You get the show notes. You can hit call right there. You can call into the show and leave a message. Everything right at your fingertips. And I will eventually send out content that will never be released anywhere else. Just like some special outtakes and things like that, some fun stuff. You'll only be able to get it from that app. So that's another reason just to have the app. So anyways, I do promote that and like I said, I did it for you guys. I did it for ease. There were some requests for it. And right now that's the easiest way and most economical way that I could get an app out to you guys. But in the future, if for some reason I have enough money, I'll do a standalone free app, which costs a lot, but I'd like to keep it free for you guys, but I have to pay to have that standalone app. So it's just an app, Law Abiding Biker app within the App Store. So enough said about that. Donations, guys. Of course, we appreciate the donations, and we do have a couple announcements on the donations. Number one, want to thank Robert Lorraine of Montecito, California. Thank you, Robert, for being part of the Law Abiding Biker community and supporting this show so we can keep coming at you. Thank you, Samuel Muamua of Pittsburgh, California. Gotta love Cali, man. You guys ramping it up with your donations. Thanks so much. And if you guys want to donate, please don't forget, if you want to sponsor a show or donate, you can lawabidingbiker.com/donate. All right, guys. I will say I'm going to start a new project soon, and where people can sponsor the show. We're running out of time on this episode, though, so I'm going to skip that. I do want to read an email real quick from Michael Verolini, and I probably next episode will just do an episode catching up on emails. I'll have a couple guys in the studio because we really need to catch up on emails. So I want to get one. He says, have had several emails reference this issue, and I'm watching your video of the infotainment system, the boombox. You briefly go over being able to see an incoming text message on the 6.5-inch screen. That's the one I have, guys. He says, I have not been able to make that feature work. I am wondering if you could give me the 411 on how that works. I've read about compatibility issues with AT&T and the iPhone. It would be nice to be able to see the text to know if it's necessary to pull over and respond. I use the iPhone 5 with AT&T being the carrier, and my iOS is up to date. Any help would be awesome. Thanks for the video and the podcast. You're very welcome, Michael, on that. And I'll tell you guys, the boombox has a lot of capabilities, but some of those capabilities are blocked. One, being able to text or read text while you're riding. The federal government has deemed that dangerous, and so Harley is following that, and they are not going to unlock that capability within the boombox. And so you can understand Harley doesn't want to take the the responsibility of having people read text messages while they're riding down the road with a motorcycle. So yes, the boombox has a lot of capabilities that are locked due to safety issues. So I don't see them unlocking that. So anyways, I hope that helps. Real quick, before we get into our interview, let me talk to my daughter, Sian, real quick. Sian, what do you think? So Sian rides with me, and we go on rides, not far rides. She's only 9, but she goes here locally and goes up the river, rides along the river with me. And I recently, what did I get for you? What do you like when you're sitting on the bike, Sian?
The heated, padded, fluffy seat.
Oh, she calls it the fluffy seat?
Yeah.
So I got Sian. Actually, I got it for myself, guys. And I do have a video that will be coming out soon, a free video on that. It's the new it's a Harley-Davidson hammock heated seat. And yes, I did get a heated seat, guys, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming episode, kind of review it, tell you guys what I think, whether you should get one. But anyway, Sian loves it. It's a lot fluffier, isn't it?
Yeah. The other one made my tush sore when I got off.
It made, yeah. Does your tush get sore on this one?
No.
That's right. Who's your daddy? All right. Anyways, I got it for you, right?
Yeah.
All right. And we are enjoying that seat. And so, Sian, we're going to have to get you a new helmet soon. What do you think?
Yeah.
Because she's got an old, like motocross style helmet, and you wear protective glasses, but we have been looking a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
What do you want? What color?
Pink.
Of course. And like princesses on it or what?
Probably this pink with like black design or something.
There you go. All right. So we're gonna do that. And Sian's been riding with me a lot. Sometimes we just take off and we go get ice cream too. Right?
Yep.
All right. You got to talk in your mic.
Okay.
So what's real quick before we move on to our interview, what's your favorite part about riding with Dad? Does it relax you riding?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. The wind, it's a lot different than a car because you get to like enjoy the fresh air, and even though like there's windows on a car, it's a lot different. Like you're not in this like walls. I really like it because the wind hits me and it's just really refreshing and relaxing.
That is my girl. And no, you guys, I did not feed her any of that. We didn't even discuss what we're going to talk about. So that was straight from her heart. The freedom, the wind in her face. God bless motorcycles and God bless bikeaholics, huh, S?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So anyways, guys, enough said about that. And thanks for being in the studio here, Sian. We're going to get right into our interview, guys. This was an interview I did with Paul Harnett. And Paul Harnett is with the Mettle Republic PSMC, which is a public safety MC. And I'm excited about this interview. We went over a lot of stuff. I really hope you guys enjoy it. I know you will. And he is the national road captain of the medical, or blah, blah, blah. Okay. He is the national road captain of the Mettle Republic Public Safety Motorcycle Club. And if you guys remember, this is kind of a follow-up to episode number 45, when I did an interview with John Larson and his wife, Jocelyn Larson, his better half. That's right, John. If you're listening, I said it. And I'm just busting John's balls. But no, Jocelyn is the professor, if you remember. And they are with the Blue Deos MC. If you want to get that, lawabidingbiker.com/45, and you will get that. Also, in that interview, we talked about their Full Throttle Full Mag website. So if you want to go over to that, Full Throttle Full Mag, great website. And they talked about the Alliance, and you guys will remember a little bit about that. If you have not listened to that, you'll want to go back and listen to 45 so you're up to date, because Paul here, Harnett, is also involved with the Alliance, and he knows John Larson and Jocelyn well. And although they don't reside in the same states, they're both involved with the Alliance. And if you guys remember, it's all about bringing the law-abiding biker community together, which obviously they got a hold of me because that's what this platform's for too. And it was really nice to get hooked up with these folks and see something that's happening over there with the Alliance that is something that we're trying to do over here too. So it's really the same page of music. So so Full Throttle, Full Mag and the Alliance. And don't forget to hit up 45. But anyways, this is an interview with Paul Harnett. We start about his motorcycle club and we end with Alliance type stuff. So, all right, guys, thanks for being with me. And when the interview's done, I'll take it out and have a few things to say. All right, guys, enough said. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay, wait.
Oh, wait. Okay, Sian, what?
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
What would you do if you didn't have a motorcycle or if you couldn't ride it for like a year?
I would throw a tantrum. I would get on my bed and bang my fists, and I would roll up in the fetal position and suck my thumb. Okay. Is that a good answer? Okay.
Yeah.
That I didn't know that question was coming, guys, but that's really what I would do. I would cry and suck my thumb. Okay, guys, let's do this interview, huh? Paul Harnett, here we go. All right, guys, so on the line I have Paul Harnett. Did I say it right, Paul?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, Paul Harnett. And we've got a pretty awesome interview going to go on here. Talked to Paul Larson in an earlier interview. And so this will be a follow-up to the Alliance. We're going to talk a little bit about the Mettle Republic PSMC, which Paul is part of. So let's just get right at it, Paul. Thanks for being with me, man.
Hey, it's great to be here.
Why don't you tell a little bit about yourself as far as what you know, as much as you want, what you do for a living, and where you live and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, I'm actually a retired police officer. I retired from full-time law enforcement 1 year ago. My background, I started in California in about 1980, and I retired once, came to Utah, and taught for a while at Snow College in the criminal justice curriculum, and was brought back into police work as an administrator, helping to run the campus police department. And I did that for the last 5 years, and I retired for medical reasons in April of last year. And I still work for the state medical examiner doing death investigations here in central Utah. And I spend much of my time now tinkering with and riding motorcycles.
That's awesome. So how many years did you put in as a LEO?
I retired with 31 years of service.
Wow. And then you go and be a medical examiner. You can have that. I don't want anything to do with it. I already had enough dead bodies the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I work for a sheriff coroner in California. The Orange County Sheriff's Department was one of the last of the sheriff coroner agencies left in the country. And so when I was going to graduate school, I studied pathology, and I have a master's degree in forensic science, basically, and got to spend some time across the parking lot with the coroner's office and found it very interesting. And so when I came to Utah, I found a way to use my skills and experience in a way that worked for me and works for the community that I live in.
That's awesome. And did you mention it? Sorry, I was just adjusting some levels. Did you mention what city you're from?
I live in Manti, Utah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We talked a little bit before, but I just couldn't remember if that was on recording or not. And nice weather over there today, I take it?
Yeah, summer has finally started to show itself. 2 weeks ago, we had a snowstorm that dumped enough snow to crush a shed on my property.
How long ago was that?
About 2 weeks ago.
Holy cow. And now what did you say? It's 80 over there or something earlier when we were talking?
Yeah. And the melt off is in full. We're surrounded by mountains here. So the spring melt off is in full tilt. All the canals are running at high level and high speed, and the farmers are happy, and everything's turning green.
All right. What kind of motorcycle you're running, man?
I'm a Victory guy. I got right now, I have an 07 Kingpin and an 012 Hardball, and I kind of split my time between them. Awesome.
Love the Victory. It's a good bike. Now you contacted me in reference, you and John Larson contacted me in reference to the interview I did with Mike over at Second Amendment MC. And so we want to get your word out there. Let's first start before we get to the Alliance, let's talk some about the Mettle Republic PSMC, which I take it is the Public Service Motorcycle Club.
Yeah, the PS stands for public safety.
Oh, okay, public safety.
Yeah, and what it is, like so many clubs today, the Mettle Republic Motorcycle Club is a club that was developed from the wreckage of another club, basically. That there were some leadership and administrative problems in our previous club, and one day it all came to a head. And when the smoke cleared, there were a whole group of us, about 18 of us, who were kind of standing in what was left of it and trying to decide what to do. And after investigating all of our options, and we were spread out over 6 states, by the way. So after investigating all of our other options, we simply decided to move forward, and with the shared philosophy and the friendships that already existed. And after a full summer of debating designs and concepts and the founding concepts, developing bylaws, and putting an infrastructure into place that would allow us to exist, be organized, and continue to grow, hopefully, the Mettle Republic Motorcycle Club was born. And the name itself was something that we probably spent more time on the name than anything else. And we settled on it because it really did represent how we felt about where we were and where we were going. The mettle simply, the word mettle, M-E-T-T-L-E, simply refers to the constitution of the people who have really been through it, as far as seeing the worst of what can happen in any organization, motorcycle clubs notwithstanding. But we had all survived it and not been soured by it, and decided to take what we had learned and turn it around and use it to a better advantage. And the word republic basically is a statement of the kind of club that we are. We're spread out now over several states. Each state has its own chapter. Each chapter operates independently of the others, and there is a central guiding board, if you will, that is only there in advisory capacity and to ensure that the states stay within the guidelines set out in our bylaws and don't deviate from the mission, structure, and function that we've designed. But beyond that, the states run their own affairs, and each one of our states is very unique. The colors are the same, the patches are the same, but the makeup of personnel is very, very unique.
I will ask, since we're on they all, independently run, but do you guys have overall bylaws that they have to follow or do they make their own bylaws?
No, actually, we put into place a constitution and bylaws, which are the binding documents. If you're going to form a Mettle Republic chapter in a state that doesn't already have one, we've already done all the work. And we did that to make sure that philosophically and behaviorally that what rises up in another state wearing our colors is at least oriented the way that we want the club to be. This is a law-abiding, family-oriented, public service-oriented club, and we don't want to deviate from that. Now, those are pretty broad parameters, and we understand that. But what we don't want is somebody to simply jump into a club where all the work is done and then philosophically go in a direction that we don't want to go. So we're very, very careful about who we would grant the ability to set up a state chapter to. We only allow one chapter per state, and there are subgroups which can also be allowed. Clearly, here like in Utah, this is a very large state. If we had a group of members in Salt Lake, you're 150 miles from the central part of the chapter, from the governance of the chapter, and we do allow that. But rather than break it up into too many sub factions, we allow one chapter per state. And the officers of that chapter are the administrators of the club's bylaws, the club's constitution, and their job is to ensure that anybody who comes into this club, is here because they want to be part of what the Mettle Republic is and does, not because they want to make it something that is contrary to that.
All right. So 6 chapters right now. 6 states? Is that what you said?
We started out with 6 states.
6 states. Okay. And you said you started out with basically, you came from another, was it obviously another law-abiding biker club? And then at some point, you guys, it's fair to say you wanted to break off at least 18 of your members?
Yeah, there was let's just say that there was a kind of an implosion among the upper echelons of the club. And when it was all said and done, of the members that chose to leave as a result of that split, 18 of us decided to move forward and start a new club.
Now, is that other club still in existence, or did it fold?
No, they're still in existence.
Okay. Now, 18 of you, that's a good chunk of people. How was the decision making? Because you're talking about the name, and I'm looking at your website here. I'm looking at your logo, your patches. How hard was all that with 18 people, or was there a select 4 or so that made all of the decisions? Kind of how did that work out?
Well, we met for most of that summer and into that fall. We met every Sunday night on Skype and hammered out the details.
All 18 of you?
Well, all 18 who were available. We did set up a national advisory council, and those people were the main players in getting things done. But there are every person of the original 18 was granted a seat on that council, and because of military deployments and obligations, not everybody was always there, but we always had enough of a quorum to get things done. One of our state chapter presidents set up a chat board where we could go at any time during the week, and start to articulate our thoughts and get responses from other people and input and start to hammer out the ideas. It was a heck of a lot of work, but it was the best way to do it with no one being left out and everyone being allowed to put in at whatever level and intensity they could.
Yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about. A lot of work that is, and especially with 18. But it sounds like you guys, had a really good deal going as far as the chat room and all that. So you guys decided on who's. Do you mind saying? Is it John's place that's making your patches?
No, we actually get our patches made right here in central Utah.
Okay.
Because we've been around longer than we have been involved with John and with the Alliance. We had to find a place to get patches made several years ago.
Sure.
And so we get our patches made here. But now that we know Independence Embroidery and have a relationship with them, we always have them as a backup, because here in this very rural county where we live, businesses like that tend to come and go. And while we have a good relationship with our current supplier, we have no way of knowing how long that will last. Right.
So you guys, you said a couple years. What do you remember? What the date is of when you guys actually officially formed and were a club?
Well, we started discussions in the summer of 2012, and the actual startup date wasn't until well into it was October 20. Excuse me. We started discussions in the summer of 2012. Our unofficial startup date was October of that year. The official startup date was January of 2013.
Okay. Do you? So that's a good deal. And you're obviously in the different states. Do you know off the top of your head what states you're in? If you don't, that's okay. But I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah. Well, Utah, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Virginia, Colorado, and West Virginia.
Okay. And those are, when you guys started, I'm just trying to clarify, were you those 6 states involved, or did you just start in Utah and then branched out?
Well, actually, this idea started between members of the former club based in Utah, Oklahoma, and Colorado. The Colorado contingent, many of them were military contractors and that kind of thing, and have since redeployed to other areas. That's how the chapters began to move east.
Okay. And you say public safety motorcycle club. What are we talking about as far as membership?
Membership is open in the Mettle Republic to anyone involved in a public safety occupation, including law enforcement, fire, emergency medical, military, and anything that is related to those professions, supports those professions. We are not we were designed to be more inclusive than exclusive as far as qualifying for membership goes. And we do have civilian members who are not employed or involved in public safety service, but the bulk of our members are because we're oriented around that theme.
All right, and if somebody's listening and wants to, they're interested in your club, what kind of process do you have for seeking membership, and is there a prospective period and that kind of stuff?
Well, we do not actively recruit, and that was something that arose out of our mutual agreement and discussions that we would not go out and actively recruit for membership. But certainly we are open to memberships, and we're open to be approached. If a person wants to join the Mettle Republic, they must approach a full patch member who then would introduce them to his chapter. That person then could come and spend some time with us. The word hanger-on gets used at this point, and see if membership in the chapter might be something they would like to consider. And if so, then they're encouraged to state their intentions. And if they wish to apply for the chapter, to become a full member of the chapter, then we have a probationary or prospect period. Our minimum prospect period is absolute minimum is 90 days with heavy involvement. And if the involvement is not that heavy for any of the number of reasons that can limit a person's involvement, then the time would actually be extended. But we require, and don't quote me on this, but we require at least 4 meetings and 4 rides in 90 days as a minimum.
All right. I want to pick your brain a little bit because you brought up a good, interesting topic there. Now, our club has the same thought as you and the Sworn Few MC. We absolutely 100% will not recruit. We don't care about numbers. We have our reasons, and I think we've stated some of those on past episodes. What can I pick your brain and say, why did you guys decide that you don't want to recruit? I think it's a good topic.
We've seen what happens when you do. And, most of us have prior experience, not just with the club that we came from together, but, my motorcycle club involvement in organized motorcycle groups, and I like to use that term because it wasn't always MCs, dates all the way back to 1980 for me. And so I've seen what happens when you can recruit, and too much growth too fast can lead to unorganized politics. Unorganized politics usually turns into conflict. And very often when it's about the numbers, you're going to be putting patches on people who are not a good fit. And will do more to undermine you than to help you or to be an asset. So we like to keep a high public profile, let people see us, talk to people, let them come and ride with us, let them come to our events. We even let outsiders come to our meetings. We do nothing in secret, and let them see for themselves if it's something that they want to do. And if so, then we open the doors and we welcome them to demonstrate that is what they want to do by commitment, by showing up. You and I both know the world is run by the people who show up. Yes.
Now, you guys say you're open, as far as, it sounds like you're very public. You have a lot of the same ideologies as us. What's the purpose of being so public? Does that serve a purpose?
Well, it does here where we are. And I'm only going to speak for Utah here because, like I said, all of our other states, their representatives would probably say something different than what I'm going to say. But where we are here in central Utah in a rural community, everybody knows everybody here, and you can't live here too long, before people know who you are, and people that you've never met are going to have some knowledge of you. We exist in a very large but very public fishbowl here. So not only do we want people to know who we are, but we want them to know, that we're them, that we're no different than them, that we care as much about this community and the people in it as they do. We care as much about, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and the peace that can be found, in the rule of law that they do. So we show up at public events. We ride in parades. We get involved in local charity events to help local people with local problems, and let people see us. And they know us. They're unafraid to talk to us. And they know that if I were walking through Walmart with my coat on, most people who know me would come up, shake my hand, say hi, how you doing, and we would talk about our families. We would talk about what's going on in our lives. We want people to have that level of comfort with us.
Sure. And I see you guys are donning the 3-piece patch. Was there any consideration on 1-piece or 3-piece, or was it just, no, we're going to do that, and that's the way we're going to go? I like it. Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion.
Okay.
About that. Well, actually, if you're a female member, if you look at our patch, it's actually 5 pieces: the top rocker, bottom rocker, the central lion, and then the PS cube on one side and the MC cube on the other. We call that a 5-piece patch.
Okay.
And all 5 of those components are incorporated into a 1-piece patch that we give to our female members. They are no less a member than a male. But we decided on that too for their own safety, because some of the females that we have in our club are very independent people, and we didn't impose this on them. This was mutual agreement all the way around. When we do go places where the patches, it becomes viewed by people who may question it, a 1-piece patch is less likely to draw criticism, confrontation, or problems for them. And so it was decided that a 1-piece patch would be appropriate for the female members, and there was no objection from the female contingent. I can tell you that the president of my chapter is a female, and she helped design that patch.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, always learning something here when I do these interviews. I love it. So, yeah, I hadn't heard that from a club before. So I just want to get straight. The males in the club, it is the 5-piece separate patch, and then they have the same patch, but it's all incorporated into 1 piece.
Right.
Okay.
And interestingly, we have been approached by members of, and I'm just gonna call them outlaw clubs. And we get approached by them, not on a regular basis, but it has happened. And and we get asked about the patch. I can say this right now: we have no documented cases where there have been any overt threats made, where there has been any kind of confrontation other than to be approached and ask questions, about the club and about the patch and that kind of thing. So far, it's not been an issue. But we tried to head that off, and tried to recognize that we also allow spousal membership, and many of our male members, their wives, who simply ride as passengers with them, are allowed to wear that 1-piece patch.
Now, on the, has that been recently being questioned by anybody about the patch? 'Cause that doesn't happen around here. I mean, we have the knuckleheads around, but they don't really do that. So is that recent stuff?
Well, it's happened more than once. It's happened to me more than once.
Sure.
It has happened to our Colorado chapter. There's I don't want to call anybody out here, so I'm not going to name any names, but there is the predominant 1% club in Colorado. They're very high profile and very visible. And if you go to a public event in Colorado, you'll see them, and they're curious. They look and they want to talk and they want to ask questions.
Sure.
We don't have a problem with that. We're happy to talk to them.
Right. Right.
Myself and a couple of our chapter members were approached at Green River out here, which is out on the eastern barrens of Utah. The Green River is the halfway point between Salina, Utah, and Grand Junction, Colorado, and it's the only stop for 100 miles in either direction. And so if you're riding along I-70, you're probably going to stop in Green River to get gas, because you can't really get past it from Grand Junction and make the next stop and going the other way. It's exactly the same. So we know when we go in there, if it's on a weekend and we're in there, we're going to encounter lots of other bikers. And sometimes we encounter lots of other 1%ers. So far, but my attitude towards that is if they approach me and they want to ask me questions, I'll have a conversation with them.
Well, sure.
They're just guys like us. It depends on what happens next. Really depends on the nature and tone of the conversation.
Right.
For the most part, it's been pretty cordial.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And they're just generally curious. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that either. Now you guys say there's somebody listening there. I know you have, people can seek membership within your chapters that are already established and understand that. What if there are a, group of people that are interested and want to start a chapter in another state? Is there a minimum amount, or is that allowable? How does that go down?
If a group wants to start a chapter in a state where we have not already established one, they're going to need at least 5 people. And what we want is for them to be able to fill the chapter leadership positions with those 5 people. So we'd like to see at least 5 people. It hasn't happened yet. Every chapter that we have stood up in a state has been started by people who were part of that original 18. And because there's been some movement around the country because of mostly employment and family obligations, some of these guys have actually taken the club with them and then found new members and built it up from there. We have not had a cold group come in yet and say, okay, we have 5 people, we want to start a chapter in, just for example, Montana. That has not happened yet. So it will be a new experience for us when it does. But I believe we're set up for it. And as long as we can satisfy ourselves of the nature and quality of the people that want to do this, everything else is already in place.
And is there if a group did that, obviously there's a, same thing as a new member, there's going to be a perspective type process for you guys to evaluate and background and all that?
Oh, yeah. I would think that what we would do is we would travel and arrange to meet face to face with them, and then ask for a completed application. We actually have a not extensive but a comprehensive application form that would allow us to do a background that would tell us what we need to know, at least at that level. We can confirm that the person that we're interviewing is or considering is who they say they are, that they are not a convicted felon, that they live where they say they live, and that they do what they say they do. We have belonging to an LE club, we have the resources to confirm, and at least at the same level as an agency looking to hire, the basic picture of the individuals that we're considering.
Sure. I strongly encourage other clubs to do that too, is have a good application process and a good background check type deal. We skipped over motorcycles. Do you guys allow, is it American made or is it any kind of motorcycle?
Our rules say that any motorcycle that can be that is street legal, can be operated at freeway speeds, and can be ridden in a group riding scenario, credibly and safely. So we don't restrict ourselves to American-made bikes.
Okay, cool. Within the club, what is the voting requirements? Is it majority for bringing a member in or going out or any kind of business like that, or is it 51%, or how do you guys do that?
We let the individual states decide, how they're going to make that call. Here in Utah, it's a unanimous vote of the chapter.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's kind of how we are too. All right. Now, do you guys host, like your club, do a yearly type, event or ride or anything like that? I understand all the chapters can't get together. That's asking too much, but I mean, you guys are the governing chapter. Is that right?
No, Utah is not the governing chapter.
Oh, okay. My bad.
We have a national president, vice president, a national secretary, national road captain, national sergeant at arms, and they can be found in Utah, Colorado, Virginia. We also have a webmaster who's in charge of all design decisions, including T-shirts and anything that we might make in the form of support gear, and that would be the guy who actually, in the end, designed the patch that we kind of fleshed out in discussions, among other things. Those people are kind of the national governance of the overall club, but their job is not to tell the chapters what to do. Their job is simply to advise the chapters, of what steps they could or could not take in being a Mettle Republic chapter and staying in compliance with the bylaws and the constitution of the club.
Yeah, I like that. That's okay. So yeah, you've got the national officers in place or advisors, that kind of thing, but they're spread out through each different through a bunch of different chapters.
Yeah, they're not all located in one state or one chapter.
Okay, yeah, very cool, very cool. And
I happen to be serving right now as a national road captain.
Okay, that probably keeps you very busy.
Well, I don't get involved in the activities of the individual states or chapters. My job is more to promote the safe, sane, and legal riding aspect of the Mettle Republic Motorcycle Club. I often publish articles on riding skills, on safety. My background is that of motorcycle instructor. I was an MSF instructor back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I was a law enforcement instructor in California for all through the 90s up until when I retired and left California. So I have a lot of teaching background, and I used that background and those skills, to try to publish articles and things for the club that can be used by everybody. We used to have, in fact, we still have on this website a group where members only can go in and access called Riding Skills and Safety, where they can post articles of their own, ask questions, have discussions. I put in articles in there as frequently as I can to generate discussion and get people to ask questions. I do a lot of that. In fact, if you look on the Full Throttle Full Mag website, put together by the Alliance and by John Larson, a lot of my articles have migrated to that site, so anybody can see them.
Awesome. Yeah, I was checking out that earlier. I am going to jump into the Alliance here. I kind of changed subjects on you, but I apologize for that. What now? Big rides? Do you guys do a yearly event like your chapter or anything like that?
We're in a very small and rural community here, so it's kind of hard to put together something that's going to be well attended. And if you're going to do the work, you certainly want to have the attendance and the support for it. And we don't get a lot of that here. We have done it in the past, but we found it better. We have friendly clubs that we associate with in the next two counties north, Utah County and Salt Lake County, where the bulk of the population of Utah lives, including the riding population. We very often do to stay involved in that sort of thing is to assist them with their events, because their events are always very successful. We just attended one this last weekend, and it was an impromptu funeral ride put on by a neighboring club. It was a memorial ride for a police officer here who was killed in the line of duty this past January, and it was really done just as a memorial, an event to collect money raise some money for the family, and just get out and show support, for people at a time when they really need it. And that sort of thing goes on here all throughout the summer, almost every weekend. One of the law-abiding clubs is doing an event. It's easier for us to support them than it is to try to do it on our own and draw that population down this way. Geographically, it's geographically undesirable for a lot of riders. So here in the local community, when we have things that come up, a family will have a house fire, or they'll have a loved one who is ill or has passed away, and one of the local church or community groups will do something, to benefit those victims and those people. We'll get involved in that. It's a little bit outside of the motorcycle club world, but it is directly involved in our community, which is where we really need to be.
Yeah, that's great, man. That you bring up a good point. I'm always getting off track here, which is good though. You guys are spread out, and you talked to me a little bit before we started the interviews. We were getting things up and running, and you talked a little bit about, how do you guys, what's the best way, because you're spread out, that your club stays in touch and organized? What are you guys doing for that?
Well, we run Skype meetings on a pretty regular basis. We use the website. Our website is kind of our central communication point. At any given time, I can pull up that website and see what the guys in Virginia have been doing, or what the guys in Colorado have been up to. They can see what we've been up to. Every time we go somewhere, we post something about it. We put pictures up. They do the same. And that's the website is really the clearinghouse and our central point of contact. This time of year, those of us here in Utah, we like to travel. Getting on the road and doing a 1,000-mile weekend is no big deal. Especially if we can wind up in somebody's backyard, with a pool, a barbecue, and some cold beer.
Absolutely. I like that talk. All right, let's switch gears just a little bit on this. And I will ask you, you're because we're going to get into the Alliance, and I learned from John that apparently there's some, resources on there now for clubs that are starting their bylaws. I know that wasn't around when you guys started. So how did you guys go about writing your bylaws? How did that process go?
Are you talking about the Alliance bylaws?
No, I'm sorry. About the Mettle Republic bylaws, because I know Full Throttle wasn't around yet.
Yeah. Well, we drew on all of us on our past experiences. We set up a Pro Boards chat site where and the administrator of it, who's now our national vice president and the president of the Oklahoma chapter, PK. Got to give a shout out to my buddy.
Sure.
He set up. He and Joe Perino, one of our Virginia members, set up the Pro Boards chat site and gave us all access to it. And so when we started to throw ideas out, that's where we did it. That way, I could post something on it. Everybody could look at it. I could get feedback. We like that. We don't like that. How about this? And it went back and forth. And as we went along, PK was actually taking those ideas and putting them into a structured document, and then coming back at us with that proposal. And so it was a kind of a circular. I guess the best way to put it is it was a circular effort, and eventually out of that came a constitution and bylaws that were where every section was titled. It was structured. It was based on what we had all seen in previous documents from previous clubs, but tailored to meet our needs and our wants, wishes, and desires based on the consensus that we could raise at the time.
Sure.
So it was an arduous process.
Would you say that writing bylaws is probably the most tedious, time-consuming thing about starting a club?
It sure can be.
Yeah, I agree. It went well. We just had to make changes after changes, and we just wanted them so perfect, and they're still always up for, revamping and things like that.
It is an ongoing process because your club will evolve, and you may see the need to make changes. And so we have a constitution that cannot be changed. The Constitution is rock solid. The bylaws, on the other hand, are a dynamic document. They can be changed, and we recognize that over time, this club may evolve to the point where changes will be necessary. We never envisioned a huge club with thousands of members, and it really wasn't written with that in mind. But it can certainly evolve and be changed to accommodate that, should it become that.
Sure. Well put. Now, let's jump into the Alliance. So you're obviously been a part of the law-abiding biker, the Mettle Republic, and then at some point you got involved with this the Alliance, and I know the rally's coming up. Why don't you first explain in your words kind of what the Alliance is all about?
Well, I first got involved with these guys just about this time last year. They were getting ready to have their first face-to-face meeting, and it was just a handful of people at the table, basically throwing down some ideas and an idea for a patch. And the idea was to create some solidarity among different clubs who were like-minded in their philosophy, and with the underlying idea that there is strength in numbers, and you don't need one big club to be strong or to be vital or vibrant, when so many small clubs could come together and provide a network for each other to work with, a network of support, a network of friendship, a network of brotherhood. I can tell you that I now that I'm in retirement, the one thing I want to do is ride my motorcycle throughout the United States and visit with people who do what I do. And, that's not just one club, that's hundreds of clubs. I have no issues with a guy whose patch is different than mine. He's just, a brother from another place. And so the idea of that kind of friendship, of taking motorcycle clubs from a factionalized activity to a more unified activity really appealed to me. And that's why I chose to get involved. And I contacted them and offered my services in any way, shape, or form that I could. Having been in law enforcement and an administrator for part of my career, I have a pretty good idea of how organizations are how they work and how they can be tuned up and made better, and how you need a good foundation in order for an organization to be strong. And I offered to help with the writing of the bylaws. That seemed to be the one place where nobody was willing to kind of jump in with both feet. Everybody wanted a part of it, but nobody really knew or wanted to be the person to take those particular reins. So I offered to, and that's what I've been doing. And it's all going to come to fruition for me this next week when these bylaws are presented to the presidents of the clubs, who will be present and get their feedback and hopefully ratify them and go forward from there.
All right. So to kind of put it in perspective here, just for the listening audience, so the National Alliance you can be any law. Basically, you can be any law-abiding biker club, within reason, and you can become a member of, regardless of what club you're with, of this national alliance.
Yeah, the alliance, the founder of the alliance, the original founding members envisioned a place, a roundtable setting, where presidents of different clubs could come together and discuss discuss the things that they have in common, discuss the things that they don't have in common, find common ways to solve problems that come from the outside and problems that may arise from the inside. But the whole idea is to unify law-abiding motorcycle clubs and let them know that they're not alone, that there are people who support them, and that with a collective voice, we might actually be able to make a difference.
Right. Now, I'm on fullthrottlefullmag.com, and when I talked to John a bit about that, and I'm looking at the National Alliance Rally, which is coming up June 6th and 8 of June 6th through 8, 2014, Ada, Oklahoma, right?
Right.
Okay. And that's where I understand is you guys have written these bylaws, and that's where you're going to try to solidify some things.
Yeah, this will be the first annual national rally. All clubs who wish to be members are invited. We hope their presidents will attend, or someone with some authority. The idea is to get everybody together at one table and say, look, this is what the alliance is. This is what the alliance intends to do. And while the alliance is run by a national advisory board, we hope that the alliance will be run by the presidents of the member clubs, and the advisory board. The members of the advisory board will be nothing more than facilitators. In other words, we won't be calling the shots. The club presidents will, and it will be up to us to help get those things done. The things that we're looking at, as far as things that the alliance can provide, we want to provide a unified voice in the motorcycle club world. That we are a home and a place for law-abiding clubs who believe first and foremost in the rule of law. The second thing is that we can provide a collective voice and resources to help with lobbying in the various states and even at the federal level. It's not our job to take over for anybody or to usurp anybody, but to support the activities of the established motorcycle rights groups by letting them know that while you're there speaking on our behalf, we're back here ready, willing, and able to support you to get the right things done.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great thing. I just want to make sure we get out, exactly what's going on, and I think it's going to be very successful. I really do believe that. Now, if say there's somebody sitting out there, president, vice president of law-abiding motorcycle club, in a nutshell, they're asking themselves, should I become part of this alliance? What's the biggest thing that's in it for me? Do you have a good answer for that?
The biggest thing that's in it for them is that there are other people that are willing to help do the heavy lifting that individual clubs cannot do by themselves when it comes to having a voice and some influence on things that matter to us.
Sure.
Like, let's talk about legislation. Lately one of the hot topics has been the motorcycle-only checkpoints.
Yeah.
That some states have chosen to employ their law enforcement to single out the motorcycle community for these random checkpoints where they're looking for random compliance with registration and licensing and insurance and mechanical and all that kind of thing. I think that to a man, we believe that is unfair and not the best use of our state's resources. Many of us are actually employed in delivering, in the bureaucracy that delivers those services to people, and that's not the best use of our time and money.
I agree.
and we want to strengthen our voice by not having the little 10-member club being the only one speaking up and saying, hey, wait a minute, this isn't right. When we get together and say this isn't right with a large and unified voice, that's going to take us a lot further.
Absolutely.
Our job is to promote the freedom, that is one of the freedoms that is left, and that is the freedom of association, the freedom of belonging to a motorcycle club. As much as you're free to belong to a bowling league or a softball team or anything like that, you should be just as free to belong to a motorcycle club and do the things that motorcycle clubs do, unmolested by the government or by anybody else.
Absolutely. Well said, man. Well said. That puts it really in perspective for everybody. And that's what I was kind of looking for, put it in a little wrapper for everybody. And that even puts it in perspective for me too. Definitely like the legislation side of things. As far as right now, if I remember right, doesn't cost anything right now to become part of the alliance, or am I wrong?
No. In fact, a conscious decision was made to avoid any monetary structure and any monetary obligations. When this conference was set up, a lot of one of the main questions was, how are we going to pay for this? Well, it was set up, the Blue Steel Riders of Oklahoma, and the EMS road docs. I got to take my hat off to these guys. These guys have done this, set this thing up, and it's clear from the beginning that if you're going to attend this conference, then any expense that falls on you is going to be your responsibility. Each person will pay their own way, and the alliance doesn't have to raise any more money beyond that to get to be able to house and feed and entertain people. And for that, as far as the activities of the alliance, if we agree, if the club presidents, the member presidents of the alliance agree to do something that's going to cost money that they don't have, and then it will be incumbent upon them to raise money for that particular activity, or to meet that particular goal. That way, we don't have to have a dues paying structure. And as of right now, that's the way it stands. And I have to say that I don't speak for everybody here, but that was the agreement that stands right now. It could change down the road, but most of us want to stay away from having any kind of a fiduciary component to the alliance, because we don't want the problems that can bring. You look at most clubs, when they get into trouble, it generally has something to do with money. Yeah,
the root of all evil, right? It stands true even in clubs, right? Now, somebody wants to get be involved. What do you think, Paul, is the best way for them to get involved with the alliance? Where do they go for that?
Right now, the best thing to do is just go to the alliance Facebook page. Eventually, the alliance will have its own website. For now, we've been utilizing social media, particularly Facebook, to reach out, to put information out, and to let people know where we are. The best thing to do is John Larson is, Wild Style he goes by, is probably the best point of contact right now. More will happen after this conference is over with, and we have a better idea of who is involved. You will see the evolution of a website where people can go as a sole source to get the information that they need. But for now, reach out to any alliance member and make your inquiries. That's what I would say right now.
Okay. Yeah. And again, guys, you can go to fullthrottlefullmag.com, and there is, under motorcycle clubs, there's the alliance for right now until the website's up, and then again, the Facebook page. With that said, do you guys have a timeline on that website or anything, or just it's in the works?
It's in the works. If this were 2 days after the conference, I could probably answer that question.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. All right, man. Anything else you want to throw out there? Oh, I wanted to ask you, you're blogging over there at Full Throttle. You mentioned that earlier. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
If you go to the motorcycle clubs tab at the top of the Full Throttle Full Mag page and scroll that down, you'll see the alliance. And just click on the alliance, and it will go to the blog that it's a separate blog from the others, and it's loaded with articles. People can publish articles there. I probably have published the bulk of what's there right now, but other alliance members can also. You just submit them to John Larson at allianceofmcs. I forget what it is now. It's allianceofmcs@gmail.com. And he goes through them, and he doesn't edit per se. He doesn't change anything, but he'll make whatever improvements he can make. He'll add a nice photo to it, and then he'll or a header to it, and then he'll post it on there. And if you're an alliance member or known to the alliance and you wish to publish something there, that would be the route to take.
Awesome information. Glad you brought that up. All right, man. What else you want to throw out there? Anything I missed on the club, on the Mettle Republic, or anything like that? Oh, I wanted to ask you what we talked about the medal and the 5-piece patch. I'm looking at the center patch. Does that obviously probably has meaning? Do you want to talk about that at all? It's got the medal or the mask over the lion. It's cool. Whoever drew it.
Yeah, we chose the lion because of, well, we actually considered literally dozens of images. And we all seem to agree, while we have little factional agreements on some images, but disagreement on everything, nobody disagreed with the lion. It seemed to be the one standalone thing that started to make things gel and brought us all together. That lion was designed by a member of ours who goes by the name of Naughty. And he's I really can't tell you anything about him because it's all secret. To say that he's a Mettle Republic member, and he's I guess an amateur artist, but he does beautiful work. And he conceptualized that lion just from sitting and listening to all the discussions.
That is cool.
And then when you go on the Mettle Republic website, we have a full description of our colors, and it articulates how we came to settle on and why we chose the lion. But mostly because, the lion is the king of the jungle. The lion is a standalone entity who provides not only leadership and unity, but is the one thing that people look to when they think of, calm in the face of chaos. And for us, that's what it came to represent.
Well, it's good looking, man. And you guys, if you want to check out their website, I don't think I've plugged it yet. It is Mettle, METTLE, republicmc.com, and you can check them out. Anything else you want to throw out there? You might want to give some contact information or Facebook, stuff like that, either for the Alliance or the club or both.
There's one thing about the Alliance that we haven't talked about that I really wanted to get out there, and that is that by bringing clubs together, we can share information. And the one thing that the motorcycle community lacks right now is a good intelligence network. And one of the things that we want to do with the Alliance is be able to talk to each other, share experiences, share information, have an understanding of what's happening in their world, let them have an understanding of what's happening in ours, because that kind of information promotes a much clearer picture of where we are in the eyes of society, where we are in the eyes of other clubs, where we are, in our place in the motorcycle club subculture. And intelligence is going to be a huge part of that. So, if you're a club president and you're thinking about, becoming involved with the Alliance, that's one of the things that we want to offer, is that we hope, that you'll see it as a place where you can freely share and get information.
Absolutely. And I think another, thinking about it is it's kind of nice to have, although we all have our own clubs, to have that one thing in common, the Alliance. And so, our club rides all over. It would be nice to be able to hook up and call somebody, if I'm going to Utah, I can call you up and that's kind of nice to have brothers, from all over, because like you say, our club doesn't reach all the states. So yeah, kind of another cool deal I was thinking about.
And even at a public event where there are thousands of strangers, if you see somebody wearing that patch, you're among friends.
Right. And that's the Alliance patch, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome, man. If people want to check you out, or, you want to give an email, whatever, man, you got the floor to give your information, whatever you want.
Okay. I can be found at www.mettlerepublicmc.com. You can always reach me through that website. The Alliance doesn't have a website yet, although you can find things that I publish on the Full Throttle Full Mag website. If you want to reach the Alliance, go to the Alliance Facebook page and private message any member on that page, and they will set you in the right direction and put you in touch with the person you need to be in touch with.
All right, yeah. And I'm looking on the Mettle Republic MC. There's a contact us, so that's the form you guys would want to use. And man, Paul, it's been awesome talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time and getting this message. I think it's a really great thing you guys got going on.
Well, hey, thanks for having me, Ryan. It's good talking to you too, and best of luck to you with the Law Abiding Biker podcast.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. All right, guys, I really hope you enjoyed that interview. I know I learned a lot. Thank you to Paul Harnett for doing that interview. And anyways, guys, do not forget, please call the Lab Podcast phone number, 509-731-3548. Leave your voicemail. Again, you can also do the internet voicemail, lawabidingbiker.com/voicemail, or you can just go to lawabidingbiker.contact, leave us an email or a voicemail right from your computer, right from your microphone. My call to action today is hit up that new app, guys, so you get everything early. You get the show notes. You can call right from there. You get extra content and all that kind of stuff. Again, just go to Android or iTunes, or excuse me, Android or Apple, and just type Podcast Box. Get it free. And then once you get that, just type Law Abiding Biker. You can get other podcasts in there too, guys, not just mine, but Podcast Box hosts a whole bunch of different podcasts. So check it out. And if you do go to /Podcast Box, the directions are right there. And I have links directly to Google Play and iTunes to get that podcast, or get the app, I should say. So anyways, guys, don't forget my Patreon page, guys, lawabidingbiker.com/Patreon. You can support me over there. Don't forget /donate if you want to do that. Thanks for all your support, guys. Also, I do want those voicemails, especially those computer voicemails. They come out really nice. And I'm thinking here real soon, I have some t-shirts in the works that I'm going to give all the guys here, and I'm going to get a bunch of extra ones made. And those people that want to leave internet voicemail, I'm just saying, I'll probably be sending out some free law-abiding biker t-shirts, guys. So, especially if your voicemail is used. So, thanks so much, guys. Get out there and freaking ride, huh? What are you doing? Hopefully you're listening to this while you're riding, huh? Rate us on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Please, 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 guys, take the time. Peace out. Cian, keep the rubber side down, and you're supposed to say the shiny side up.
Okay, the shiny side up.
There you go. Peace out, guys.